Hey everyone, this is Fabio and welcome back. It's insanely hot here in London these days. I hope I managed to survive until the end of the video, but let's just go down with business. This is a video related to a game news that I read yesterday, and also indirectly to a video that I heard by Alpha Omega Sin. Stay there. And the thing is about Shinji Mikami. We all know who he is. He's basically the creator, I think, or at least a key figure in of old school Capcom, responsible for the creation, especially of their survival horror games, primarily Resident Evil, and then all the others. But also other games that we'll mention later. But Shinji Mikami has declared that he would love to make a new Dino Crisis and a new God End. That's another game, one of the other games I want to mention. Personally, I'm super excited about Dino Crisis because I'm a humongous fan of the first game. Like God Hand, let's talk about that a little, because I don't own it. I know what it is, but I don't own it because that is a rare game. I think it because it was produced in limited quantities or stuff like that. Maybe it was already by the time that the relationship between Mikami and Capcom was starting to crumble. And I don't know how it is by this day, if it's still shaky or they're kind of improved it. I have no idea. But we'll see for God Hand. It will be really cool to have this crazy beat 'em up. Imagine that. I'm thinking mainly about a sequel, not a remake. Or a remake to make it more available to people to know about and to play, especially. I'll probably buy it in the future, but it's kind of expensive considering that it's a PS2 game. And like, if you look on Amazon, the idea of spending £20+ on a PS2 game, it's kind of you're like, really, because most of the time PS2 games go from 0 to less than 10 most of the time. Then if it's a rare or really sought after game, the prices start to go up. But for the most part, like, the prices are decent, as I said. But a sequel, a sort of remake, just to increase the availability, and a sequel especially, maybe doing something like that. Maybe, for example, Capcom could work with Rocksteady. Just thinking about it, like in a sort of, not the same, because I think that a lot of games now are taking inspiration from the Arkham games, the Batman games, but I think that could work very well for a beat 'em up like God Hand. But we'll see. But I'm sure that the idea could be like a sort of open world beat 'em up. Maybe like, I think Yakuza is an open world beat 'em up. I'm not sure. I never played a Yakuza game, but I heard about it. I think it's a open world beat 'em up kind of series. But since Capcom clearly said that they want to make more games for the PS4, and that is a great thing, of course. Just as watch Alpha Omega Sin video makes all awesome comments on games that should be developed for, especially naturally said Breath of Fire, and that filled my heart with joy because it's my favorite RPG series. I'm a massive Breath of Fire fan, and I couldn't agree more. Like, remakes of all the games, because I'm sorry, Alpha, but I disagree with you. I like Breath of Fire 5, but again, that's just preference and personal opinion. But for Breath of Fire 1 to 4, they're masterpieces, I think, especially 2 and 3. So what I always dream about, it's the remake of Breath of Fire 2, especially with like HD most updated version of the Breath of Fire 4 engine. But I already talked about that in my remakes video, in spite of the Final Fantasy VII announcement. What I really want to talk about, before I melt down for that, because it's really hot in my room now, what I really want to talk about, however, it's Dino Crisis, of course. I love the Dino Crisis series. It's not very big, they're just 3 games, as we know. And I haven't played, really, Dino Crisis 3. Not because of what I heard, like it's a bad game on everything, because I never had the chance really. I want to play it because it's still Dino Crisis 3. I know it has nothing to do with it. It's not that, but just because I want to play and beat all 3 Dino Crisis games. That's the thing. It's just a personal thing because I loved the first game so much. The first Dino Crisis, it's among my favorite survival horrors on PS1, and it's among my favorite games on PS1. I'm not afraid to say that because I think among the survival horror games, only Resident Evil 2 is as good as or better than Dino Crisis 1, because Parasite Eve, it's something on its own. I really don't know how to classify that if as a survival horror, horror RPG or something like that. So these 3 are my favorite like horror games on the PS1. I know there are others, like I love Kudelka, for example. Um, but it's more again an RPG with horror elements. So maybe Parasite Eve and Kudelka can go there. But apart from that, and just getting out of topic here and on a tangent, but with Dino Crisis 1, I loved that game from the first second I played it. Um, because also like I think it has better controls than Resident Evil 2, for example. It's still tank control, but it's slightly less clunky. I mean, it's slightly more fluid, both of them. So you control Regina better than, for example, Leon or Claire. And I think they kind of use the same control palette for Resident Evil 3, which is much better than Resident Evil 2 in terms of controls. I mean, still clunky, still tank controls, but less wonky in a way. And it was also impressive for the time because Dino Crisis, I think, was the first Capcom survival horror that was full in 3D. While with Resident Evil, for example, we know it's the 3D characters in 2D backgrounds. But and also I really like the idea of the dinosaurs, even though to me, at least in the long run, it really damaged the development of the Dino Crisis franchise, because in a way, how can you explain dinosaurs all the time? I mean, the first one, okay, I can see that. The second one, because yes, it's basically the same thing of the first one. And the third one, I mean, I know there's dinosaurs in space, and I was like, what the hell? Because I remember with Dino Crisis 3, I played it for like 5 minutes, and that's it. When the game was out, was released, I went to a video game store, and they have like PS2, Xbox consoles that you can try actually. And on the Xbox there was Dino Crisis 3. I was like, oh my god, Dino Crisis 3! I cannot wait to play it. I saw that, and for the time it looked good. I was like, yes, that's awesome. Is that Regina? Then I thought, no, it's not Regina. What's going on? Then I said, why am I in space? Why am I flying? What's going on? And after 5 minutes I have to go. Basically I say, okay, let's just wait that the game like drops in price and something like that. Then I'll buy it and play it. I missed my chance back then. I bought it a couple of years ago, but I haven't played it yet because my Xbox is not with me. So as soon as I manage to play my Xbox, I will. Dino Crisis 3. It's the game that I want to play first, together with Jade Empire on the original Xbox. But I think that with that game, the strange thing was that probably originally that was a completely different game. Something that Capcom thought, this game is not going to sell well. Let's just slap the Dino Crisis title on it. Boom, Dino Crisis 3. And as we know, that game killed the franchise, basically. But what Capcom should do with Dino Crisis, and they said once, a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 or 4, I don't know, some years ago, they said that they would love to make more Dino Crisis games. The same thing with Onimusha, but the same with Dino Crisis. They would love to make more Dino Crisis games, but they don't have good ideas to kind of resurrect the series. Because, as I said, the third one basically killed it because it was not good, from what I heard. I still had to play it, but when I saw it, I was like, really? Is this Dino Crisis? So, even without playing it, I was really like, what the hell? But Dino Crisis, as I was saying, it's a phenomenal game for the PS1. Really highly recommend. If you like survival horror, you must play Dino Crisis 1. And it's also available on PC and Dreamcast, I think. Then we have Dino Crisis 2, which is a good sequel. It's a good, fun game, but it's not as good as the first one. But it's still much better for what I saw of the third one. The thing with Dino Crisis 2 is they completely changed the gameplay. It's more of an action game. The survival horror element is gone in Dino Crisis 2. It's one of the first, I think, survival horror series that went more towards the action. But it was really weird. The thing that the more dinosaurs you kill, the more points you get. With points you can buy weapon, ammunition, health packs, everything. It was super easy. I find like I beat Dino Crisis 2 in a week, like 5 to 7 days, while it took me a long time to beat Dino Crisis 1 because that is a hard game. But I love the first Dino Crisis. To me is unforgettable. I played that game so many. It's the survival horror that I finished the most after Resident Evil 3. I finished Resident Evil 3 so many times, but Dino Crisis 1, I wanted to beat the game in every possible way and see all the endings. That's how much I love that game. And I was very good at it by the end, because that is a real survival horror. You don't have to kill every single dinosaurs, because if you do that, you run out of ammo very quickly, and then you're screwed for the rest of the game. So it's a perfect example of the golden age of the survival horrors, as I called it during the PlayStation 1 era. And it worked very well. It was a really good game. So what Capcom needs to do, I think, with the Dino Crisis, first of all, make a remake of the first Dino Crisis. That would be perfection, because of course what I'm thinking, and it was confirmed by Alpha Magazine, and it's probably what everybody wants, is the fact that Dino Crisis 1 should be remade in the same way as Resident Evil 1. Something like that would be unbelievable, would be incredible. That's what Dino Crisis needs, just to like raises again the attention on this series. That would be a smart move by Capcom. They did it with Resident Evil, why not with Dino Crisis? And let Shinji Mikami do it. I think working again on the Dino Crisis series right now could be a very smart move by Capcom, I think, because now with Jurassic World on cinema, and for what I read on Wikipedia, that movie is just making a fortune, making so much money. People is interested again in dinosaurs apparently, so Dino Crisis would be a smart move by Capcom. So of course the first thing that comes to mind, it's the remake of the first one, because that would be amazing, like on PS4, in the same style, but of Resident Evil 1 the HD, but keeping the original tank controls, the original camera, everything like that. It would be amazing. In a way, I think, however, you can also remake Dino Crisis 2. I would be less interested, of course. What I want is Dino Crisis 1 remake for PS4. I don't know if Capcom plans to do something for other consoles, or their work exclusively with PS4. It seems more like it, even though it's a kind of a weird move, because there's a lot of Capcom fans on both Microsoft and Nintendo sides of the barricades. So we'll see what they'll do. But a remake of Dino Crisis 2, you can do it, I think, in a way like Resident Evil 4 and 5, 6, I don't know, because I haven't played it, but I played and beat Resident Evil 4, of course. Even though it's not my favorite Resident Evil game, I really liked it. It's a lot of fun. So since Dino Crisis 2, it's already more of an action game, do it the same way, with the same gameplay mechanics of Resident Evil 4, would be very interesting, actually. Maybe expanding the story a bit, or I don't know, changing something, because at the end of the day, the story in Dino Crisis 2, for the most part, at least me personally, I didn't care, man. With those other characters like Dylan, Paul, I was like, oh, the fuck cares? I want to play as Regina. Because she should be the focus of the Dino Crisis series. She's such a badass character. I really liked her back then. But with that gameplay mechanic, Dino Crisis 2 could be very interesting. Like removing the points and the arcadey aspects. I mean, just make Resident Evil 4 mechanics with Dino Crisis 2, maybe expanding the story, make it a bit more creepy again, because Dino Crisis should be a survival horror game, not just a shoot 'em up or something like that. That would be interesting, I think. But what also we need, the essential thing is the remake of 1. But also, let Shinji Mikami do a new Dino Crisis 4, since we already have 3, but a real sequel to the first 2 games. And I think it should keep the gameplay of the first one, so the tank control. That's how it should be. Because survival horror games nowadays are going pretty well for what for heard. Like, look at Evil Within. I heard like mixed opinion, but apparently it's been a good success. And that game was made by Shinji Mikami. So it could be very interesting, and I really think that Dino Crisis could be a smart move by Capcom. Like, taking advantage of the insane success of Jurassic World. But like, what could it be a story? Because as I said, Dino Crisis in the long run suffered from a lack of ideas, I think, because of the dinosaurs. Like, how can you explain the dinosaurs every time? In fact, if you notice in the first two games, the story is basically the same. There's this works with the third energy, and in both cases, it causes like the opening, like a rift in time and space and something. So dinosaurs ended up in our time. They're basically the same thing. And I have no idea what's the excuse for dinosaurs in space is. I don't want to know before I play Dino Crisis 3. So we'll see. What can they do for a story? I mean, of course, you cannot have Dino Crisis without the dinos. So to me, Dino Crisis, just like the old school Resident Evil, but because for what I heard, the new one, the Revelation, has a problem with the story. I haven't played it yet, but I want to, because I heard good things about these new Resident Evil games. They should be like horror B movies, B horror movies. Just go insane with the story, because if you try to make the story too serious, we are not going to take it too seriously. I mean, how can you take a story with dinosaurs, killing dinosaurs, and something like that seriously? You can't. I can't. So just go insane with it, Capcom. Just have fun. I mean, make it a survival horror, like very gory, very dark in a way, because one of the strongest points to me with Dino Crisis 1 was the atmosphere. That was amazing, very well done inside that really creepy base with the really haunting music. Like, I love so much the music of Dino Crisis 1 that I bought the soundtrack, even though survival horror games usually don't have really good soundtracks. But that's what I think. I mean, I don't know. You can just go insane. You can still connect. You can still use the third energy thing. Maybe you can reverse the process, like an accident with the third energy, like make the characters go back in time, not the opposite. You can have dinosaurs invading Earth. I don't know, because of the third energy always, or something else. I know, just Jurassic Park cloning dinosaurs. It's a bit too obvious, but why not? Go with, I don't know, fucking mutant dinosaurs and human hybrids. You go with, I have no idea, something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but something crazy like that, like a horror B movie. That's how the story of a Dino Crisis should go. With Regina as the main character, of course, and you can have side characters, of course, but I think she should be, in any case, the main character of the Dino Crisis games. I want to see her like riding a motorcycle with all the raptors, just like in Jurassic World. I want to see Regina doing that. That would be like the cover of the new Dino Crisis. That would be really cool. But as I said, like, it has to be survival horror, and it must keep the old school spirit of the first game that made it so good, I think. Because doing something arcadey like the second game, it's fun, but it's not what the series should be. You can use, again, the Resident Evil 4 gameplay mechanics that could work well, even though I will prefer the original Tank Control one, like in Resident Evil 1 Remake. That would be amazing. So we'll see what Capcom will do. I just wanted to mention that. And of course, I know that Shinji Mikami saying that he would love to do this doesn't mean anything. I should have said this from the first moment. It was just going up with Dino Crisis talk. He said he would like to do it. It doesn't mean that will happen. It's not that the Dino Crisis game is coming because Capcom said, "Oh yes, we will work with Shinji and making these amazing games." Not at all. It's probably, I don't know if it's never going to happen. Who knows? Because as I said, it could be a smart move by Capcom to take advantages of the renewed interest in dinosaurs by people. But we'll see what they'll do. I mean, but I really hope it's something that I dreamed since the next generation of the PlayStation 1, since PlayStation 2, Xbox. I wanted the remake of Dino Crisis 1 because it's a game that should really have one because it's excellent. It's a really good game, and with a modern update remake, it could first of all make people aware of how good that game is nowadays, because since gaming is getting more and more popular, more people should play Dino Crisis 1 without buying it on PlayStation 1 or all consoles, which it's an amazing way to play it, of course, but there should be updated HD remake, um, because of course I play the game again and I say, oh, this game is so amazing. It's very nostalgic. I look at amazing 3D environments and stuff like that, and people, like younger gamers, will say, what the fuck is this shit? Of course, because it's a PS1 game, but an updated remake would be phenomenal. A new game especially would be very, very welcome nowadays. You can even remake two, but first make the first remake and then a new game, and then if you want you can remake two. But these are the two things that I would love to see by Capcom and Shinji Mikami, of course. If they start to work again on this project, and don't forget God End, as I said, I mean, that would be very interesting to see. As I said, maybe Shinji Mikami, Rocksteady, and Capcom joining forces. That would be a phenomenal game on PS4, but who knows? As I said, he just said that he would love to do it. In this article, it was very short, by the way, but he said he already has ideas. So just do it, Capcom. Swallow your pride and work with Shinji Mikami again. It's a very profitable union, as we know from back in the day. So why not do it now? That's the Dino Crisis could be nothing more but potential. And of course, it goes for like the talk about focusing on making games on PS4. There's a billion of Capcom series that we can mention and having remakes and new games on PS4. Where should I even start? I mean, of course, I started with Dino Crisis, but just to mention a personal favorite of mine, Darkstalkers. That series needs a new game. But since now they're probably focused on Street Fighter V, it's not going to happen. But make a new one for the Vita, for God's sake. Make a new Darkstalkers game. There's so many. Breath of Fire. Please, Capcom, do a good one. Oh. But that's it. I just wanted to focus on Dino Crisis. So let's see what happens. As I said, him saying that he would love to do it means nothing concrete, but who knows? It could be interesting. It depends on how the working relation between him and Capcom is today. Because now it's been years that he left Capcom, so who knows? Maybe this relation improved, and we'll see. Maybe we'll finally have the phenomenal HD remakes that Dino Crisis 1 deserves, and finally a new, good Dino Crisis game. We'll see. That's it, guys. I just wanted to talk about this since I'm a massive Dino Crisis fan. It's a series that I love, and the idea of having new games and remakes and a possibility by making by Shinji Mikami, it's very interesting, of course, to me. So we'll see what happens. But for now, that's it. Like always, thanks for watching. Take care.